This na, mga kapartner sa business. Buksan ang isipan sa mga bagong kaalaman sa negosyo, ekonomiya at hanap buhay. In the heart of business. At ngayon, narito na ang mga kilalang business columnists at broadcasters. Maru Pahati Sarne at Lito Gagni.
Hello! Hi! Magandang hapon mga kaibigan. Welcome po dito sa In the Heart of Business. Ako po si Maru Pahati Sarne. And also, andito aking partner, Lito Gagni.
Lito Gagni. At meron po kaming bisita ngayon.
Yes! Oo.
Siya po ay taga...
From the Russian Embassy. Yes.
Siya po ay si Nina Prakapovich.
Yes. Nina, good afternoon.
Nina, good afternoon, Nina.
Ay!
Yeah, marunong siya ng Tagalog.
Marunong mag-Tagalog.
Maraming salamat sa inyo sa paganyaya ko dito sa panayam at sa pagkakataon na italakay ang mga global issues. Salamat sa inyo.
Oh my God, it's a long sentence.
6 years, ha?
Oo, 6 years siyang nag-aral ng Tagalog. Where did you learn how to speak Tagalog?
Sa Moscow State University, sa pamantasan ng mga bansang Asia at Africa.
Okay. Nina, can you go closer to the mic? This microphone, in front of you. Yeah. No. That microphone in front of you. Yeah, so that people can hear you.
Okay.
So, nag-aral ka ng 6 na taon. Meron pala doon sa Russia na eskwelahan?
Meron pamantasan at pagkatapos nagpraktika ko dito sa Manila, sa University of the Philippines. Nagparaan ako dito ng 6 na buwan. At pagkatapos bumalik ako sa Moscow at pagkatapos bumalik dito sa Pilipinas bilang isang diplomat.
Yeah.
So, pinipili niyo yon kung anong language ang gusto niyo pag-aralan?
Ipili kung anong lingua
Nasa
gusto
sa
niyo.
Each college student, di ba?
Oo.
Okay. So, bakit pinili mo ang Filipino language?
Kasi gusto kong magsasalin ng anumang wika na hindi masyadong popular sa Russia.
Okay.
Wikang Tagalog.
So, you are an expert in Filipino language, English?
Kasaysayan, panitikan ng...
even our history.
Kasaysayan, history, yes.
Galing.
Wow.
Anyway, narito po si Nina Prakapovich. Narito po siya in order to tell the other side of the story dito po sa Ukraine. Alam po ninyo medyo natatambakan ng mga masasakit na salita ang Russia.
Yeah.
Dahil dyan sa Ukraine.
Actually, hindi tayo masyado nakakabasa ng side ng Russia tungkol dito sa nangyayari sa Ukraine. It's always about Ukraine, na naapi sila, na hindi maintindihan nga ng mga tao bakit pumasok ang Russia dito sa Ukraine. So, yan ang ipapaliwanag sa atin ngayon ni Nina para mas maintindihan din ng ating mga kababayan. Of course, we have to get the side of the Russians, no? Na hindi natin nababasa sa internet or anywhere. So, Nina, can you share with us? Ano ba ang dahilan bakit nagdesisyon ng Russia na papasukin na ang Ukraine?
Okay. Subukin kong ipaliwanag sa mga tagapagkinig kung bakit nagsimula ng Russia ang special military operation. Pero gusto kong magbigay din na kasi naririnig namin na ang Russia ay nakikipagdigmaan sa Ukraine, invading their occupying it and so on and so forth. But I would like just to stress that Russia is not waging war against Ukraine, and actually what we are witnessing today, it's not a war against Ukraine, but it's a kind of civilization war between Russia and Western countries on the territory of Ukraine. So that's how we see it, because for all people who know even little about the history of relations between our countries and between our peoples, they will never believe such a widespread lie. Because we all connected by family ties, by common religion, Orthodox religion. Yes, culture. Our ancestors fought side by side against Nazi Germany. We honored our common ancestors during victory days. And even after the collapse of the Soviet Union, we continue to maintain these good neighboring ties. But everything happened in 2014 when then
The Maidan.
sa Maidan. When then President Yanukovych was overthrown, despite the guarantees from Poland, from Germany, from France, and so on and so forth. And why he was overthrown? Because he just was forced to choose between free trade zone with Russia and free trade zone with Europe, if to say on the whole. Yes, because the West was trying to, they promising golden mountains to Ukraine if they join European Union and so on and so forth. They believed it. So when President Yanukovych was overthrown, left right radicals, right-wing nationalist radicals seized power there, and they openly declared the course to ethnic cleansing of the Russian-speaking population there. And just for your information, it's about 40% of the Ukrainian population, they are Russian-speaking.
Because they used to be a part of Russia, right?
Yes, Crimea was part of Russia. Donbas region before 1920, it was part of. It was the industrial region, and that's why it was forced to join Ukraine. That time to push industrial development of agrarian Ukraine. So, but those people they never forget their roots.
Yes,
sure. And that's why first Crimea happened. So people trying to avoid the civil war that later erupted in Donbas, they decided to hold referendum. International observers participated there, so they could see how it was being carried out. And 96% of the Crimean population, they voted for
Russia,
reunification of Russia. Yes. So as for Donbas republics, Donetsk People's Republic and Lugansk, yes, they also declared their independence. And Russia, actually, it could recognize those republics already then, in 2014. But it didn't do it, and because it was trying to find political solution, so those areas could remain still part of Ukraine. But the next president Poroshenko, he signed the Minsk agreements. According to those agreements, the Kiev authorities should enter in direct dialogue with Donetsk and Lugansk. And again, the countries of so-called Normandy format, they were supposed to force Kiev to follow these Minsk agreements, but they failed. And moreover, the Kiev regime started to enforce laws, anti-Russian laws. They started to ban Russian language. They
even the pension system.
The pension systems. Yes, they switched off their own people from all those social services. They established a water blockade of Crimea, so on and so forth. So. And what is more important, they codified into law that Russian people in Ukraine, Russian-speaking population, are not indigenous there. So it's the same if here in the Philippines,
Russian-speaking sila.
Yes,
the Donbas region.
Yes, and the same if you here in the Philippines would say that Tagalog or Cebuanos or Ilocanos are not indigenous. So that's how they feel it, and that's how we also feel it.
Good news, Nina. Somebody texted me.
Okay.
Sabi niya, galing daw, welcome.
Salamat, maraming salamat.
Si Lino Insyong, he's a Bible pastor.
Kumusta na lang sa kanya?
Nagtatagalog ito si Nina. Nakakatuwa.
Kasi some people, they listen to the radio Kasi siyempre, radio, nandiyan lang, nakikinig ka, you can also do your things, But then, President Bongbong Marcos recently came up with a possibility of procuring fertilizers from Russia. Is your country amenable to such a thing, and how will that be possibly made through the Russian Embassy, the Russian Federation Embassy. Siguro ikaw na bahala dyan, no? Ha?
Siyempre. Indeed, we know that the Philippine economy depends on imports of such important products as energy products, fertilizers, some food maybe, and any disruption of traditional supply chains negatively affect the Philippine economy, and that's why your country is pushed to look for alternative suppliers. And as far as the fertilizer is concerned, of course, we know that your President Marcos, says that one of his most first concern is to provide the country with affordable fertilizers, and he also has.
And that is what your country can provide us.
Yes, and it's very gratifying for us that he mentioned as one of the main suppliers of fertilizers our country, and actually we already received official request from your Department of Agriculture, and our companies, fertilizers companies, the Philippines and the Russians, they have been in talks since already.
Talks na.
Yes, since
so
May.
Possibly, maganda.
So it's business as usual.
Yes, of course. So I think we just need to wait a little bit and just hope that energetic approach of your new leadership just will help to accelerate this process, and we'll hope that Russian fertilizers will enter the Philippine market.
Mura lang siguro yan. Because if you do it government to government, pwede. And possibly, perhaps the Philippine government can do what we call yung parang barter. It's a barter. Yung,
palitan tayo, exchange.
Philippine goods, let's say mango, since Russian citizens, they would like our mangoes, di ba?
Yes.
So mangoes for your fertilizer. Di ba maganda yun?
Maganda ang idea. Dapat, okay.
Gusto nila yung fertilizer, yun natin mangga, pati yung yung pula, yung mga Russian visitors dito, yung tourists,
mangga,
yung gusto nila, yung mga
rambutan.
Rambutan.
Gusto niya yung rambutan.
Gusto nila, pati mismong yung trees, the whole tree, they wanted it.
Talaga? Oo. Mabubuhay kaya yun doon sa Russia?
Yun ang inaalam.
Kasi medyo pag winter time, di ba?
Meron akong kakilala na I joined tours, si Irma Llorera. She studied in Russia. Marunong siya ng Russia. Kaya siya yung kinukuha ng Department of Tourism na tour guide. Marami daw mga Russian na pupunta rito.
Pero masyado mahal ang mga prutas, ganitong prutas doon sa Russia.
Yes.
Namamahal lang kayo dito sa prutas? Talaga? Ano ba ang mga prutas nyo doon sa Russia?
Pero hindi maraming prutas, sariling prutas meron kami doon, pero maraming berries.
Yes.
Berries.
Yes, we have it in every dacha. So our kind of haciendas. So yes.
Pwede yan sa blueberry cheesecake.
Blueberries, yes, blueberries, cranberries. That's what we have in our forest. You just need to go there and
just pick.
Yes, no.
So
It's from the ground.
Yes,
wow. Kung strawberry nga nasa ground lang yan.
Strawberry, yes.
Oo. Ang sarap naman. Oo. So, pero nakauwi ka na sa Russia mula na nagpandemya, because she told me that she has been here for 2 years. So, ibig sabihin ng pandemic andito ka na.
Yes, I went to Russia during New Year holidays, because in Russia it's pretty long.
Just like us.
Yes.
Pero sa amin Christmas Siya sa inyo New Year yung mahaba.
Yes, pero mas mahaba ito sa Russia. Dalawang linggo.
Yung New Year nyo?
Oo.
And what happens during New Year festival sa inyo?
Just first of all, we celebrate the New Year because in our country maybe New Year is much more important than Christmas. But yes, and our Christmas actually is not on December 25, but on January 7th. So and it's more religious and more
Yeah, Orthodox.
Orthodox, yes. So we all love celebrating New Year. So we meet it in our family circle.
I
Then
see.
we just went ice skating. I don't know. Went
And then drink lots
cinemas.
of vodka.
Yes, somebody drinks vodka, somebody prefers more healthy lifestyle.
Galing, tagal
Just doing
pala.
sport. So just visiting each other, friends, families.
So
But we have been trading for so long, right?
so long.
Matagal na rin panahon na nagtitrade ang Pilipinas at Russia. Ano pa yung mga dati nyong ine-export dito sa Pilipinas?
But here, first of all, high demands are minerals. So there's yes, minerals first of all. So some products of metallurgy. So something like this. Grain. Actually, we used to export grain here.
And wheat, right?
And wheat, yes, before pandemic. So
even before yung problema sa Ukraine, hindi na kayo nakakapag-export dito ng wheat?
No, we exported.
You still
here, yes,
export wheat.
Yes, but then for some logistical problems, as far as I understand,
because of the pandemic.
yes, and because of pandemic, first of all, also.
Yung mga baril, wala kang ina-export dito.
Baril?
Di Kalashnikov. Wala.
Wala.
Walang assault weapons, ha?
Pero alam ko nagbibigay sila, nagdo-donate.
Nagbibigay noong 2017, okay.
2000.
Okay.
Yun, 17.
Yes, when the situation in Marawi happened here, so we...
Tama. Kasi nandun si President Duterte.
nandun
siya, then he excused himself. He cut short
to
the
go,
visit kasi because of Marawi.
Yes, So
matagal na talaga ang relasyon ng Pilipinas at Russia. A beautiful
Russian leader,
relationship.
Vladimir Putin was not supposed to be in Moscow that time. Pero lumipad siya to accommodate. Kasi sabi ni President Duterte, kailan aalis na siya. Ayan. Siya, isa ka di ba sa translators doon?
pero ito, nag-translate ako sa loob ng ikalawang pagbisita ni Pangulong Duterte sa Moscow, yes, in 2019. So I was already...
So you went there?
Yes, I was working in Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
So you were still there, yeah.
Yes, I was still there, and I just was accompanying our delegation there. So we...
Did you choose to be here in the Philippines?
Yes.
Yeah.
So because that was my major specialty in institute, so I wanted just to continue this.
So what can you say about the Philippines?
Nagustuhan mo ba?
Siyempre. Maraming ganitong pogo dito, pero...
Pogi!
Oo.
June, pakibaba nga yung mask. Baka pag binaba, hindi na pogi. Hindi, pogi yan si June.
Hindi pogi, pog.
Ano?
Pero alam ko kung nangangahulugan ito.
So hindi pala.
In Russia, how do you call the pogi? Ano ang term sa Russia ng pogi?
In Russian, you mean how we...
Handsome, yeah.
Handsome, krasavchik.
Ano?
Krasavchik.
Krasavchik. Oh,
Ako, aparatchik. Niet.
How about beautiful?
Красивая.
Krasiva.
Yes, the same root. Красавчик.
Krasavchik and
So it's
Krasiva. Yeah, Nina is so Krasiva. She could be a Miss Universe.
maybe I will think of it. Maybe if I will be satisfied with my diplomatic.
Baka bawal. You have a diplomatic.
Oo nga naman pala. Pero kamusta yung pananatili mo rito sa Pilipinas? Ano ang mga nagustuhan mo sa Philippines?
Siyempre ang nature, Philippine nature.
Kasi taglamig sa kanila lagi.
Taglamig, oo, panahon dito, laging...
Never mo nagamit ang coat mo rito.
Oo. Hindi kailangan yung mayroon maraming coats at maraming bihis dito. So we just managed even to travel a little bit, but mostly around Luzon, because during the time of pandemic it was very difficult just to leave Manila and to go somewhere, but
So nakarating ka rin sa mga beach, ganyan?
Beaches, yes, Baguio City, so it's one of my favorites, because there you can just feel this cold.
Yeah. Yung na mismong cold.
Tsaka yung cold, kayang-kaya niya yun dahil 18 eh.
Wala pa yun. yun.
Ako kwenta sa kanila. Kayo,
Mainit pa yun. Oo. Pero natuto ka raw ng Ilocano?
Hindi.
Hindi.
Tagalog lang.
Oo, so Tagalog lang ang iyong natutunan. Anong pagkain ang pinaka-paborito mo rito?
Pansit. Pansit.
Talagang ano?
Pansit tayo nakalagay.
Winner ang pansit talaga eh.
Pansit na yan.
Lumpia rin. Wow. Yeah. Oo, yan ang pinaka-favorite natin din. Oo nga eh. Parang halos lahat ng dayuhan yun na nagugustuhan nila, no? Pansit, lumpia, adobo.
Kasi pareho sa European pagkain. Maybe that's why.
Oo nga, oo. Pero marami kasi rin ang gustong malinawan. Yung kasi nga nabanggit mo yung history hanggang doon sa panahon na ang dating pangulo na na-oust doon sa sa Ukraine ay ang talaga namang gusto niya ay manatili sa Russia ang Ukraine, Pero dito sa pagpasok ni Zelensky, nagbago ang lahat. And parang people wanted to be a part of the European Union. Yun ang pagkakaalam natin. Is it a reason why finally pumasok na ang Russia sa Ukraine?
So it's difficult. It's not maybe the only reason, because actually the situation's has been aggravating for a long time, and it's just one of the elements.
Okay.
Yes.
Isa lang sa mga dahilan nito.
Nagulantang kasi si Vladimir Putin dahil NATO is at the very doorstep
at the mouth
of
Russia.
It's actually
yun ang problema.
Pero, and Russia felt na parang this is not
threatened.
This is not good.
It's by NATO countries and headed by Washington, obviously for us. They have been establishing military infrastructure for the last 8
along
years.
Russia's border. Kaya doon siyempre nagulat si Vladimir Putin, kaya he ordered the special military operation. Yun yung sinasabi niyang denazification. Because yung nangyari the West is... Pero makikita mo, tingnan mo, ang dami rin problema kasi kung titingnan mo sa internet, may mga ibinebenta na yung West, the weapons that West give to Ukraine, malaki billion dollars. Yung iba napupunta sa dark doon sa mga criminal
Yes.
Merong presyo eh. May presyo yung Javelin, may presyo yung Himar.
Bakit ganun nangyari?
Kasi sobra dami.
Okay.
Kasi internet lang, pwede mo na ibente.
Oo nga.
Yes, and that's also the issue that our president always mentions to Western countries, because he tells them, so you cannot control these weapons that is coming from your countries to Ukraine, and you still continue to pumping it with your weapons, with heavy artillery, and then happens. So I will just come back to the topic of the direct threat because really it will just take maybe 3 to 4 minutes for American NATO missiles to reach Moscow if they want to strike at Moscow. So and that's why but our concerns were not taken into account at all. Because we tried to negotiate security guarantees last December, if you remember, but the United States just refused to.
So Russia just wants to be heard. Yun ang dahilan kaya nangyayari ito.
They opened biological laboratories along the borders of Russia. They were trying to create dirty nuclear bomb, but nobody.
Dirty.
Walang ganun.
Dirty nuclear bomb that could be pwede dalhin sa mga.
So,
kasi yung dirty nuclear, yun yung dadalhin mo lang eh.
So that's why we had no other choice but to recognize the independence of the Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics and to start.
Hindi kasi ang sabi ni Vladimir Putin, they are conducting genocide kasi nga yung 7 years, 8 years na tayong gera doon sa Donbass. Actually, there were 2 separatist leaders there sa Donetsk and Lugansk. Nakasama sila doon sa Minsk II Protocol. That Minsk II Protocol was intended to, craft peace agreement between Ukraine and yung Donbass region. Kasi nga party yun pero hindi naman natuloy. Tapos yung France and Germany, hindi naman nila na-achieve yung, parang gusto nila, yung lumalabas, parang gusto nilang magkagulo doon sa lugar na yun.
Yes, and they openly say that they openly encourage Ukraine to fight to the last Ukrainian, So, and they are trying to accuse Russia in bombing the civilians there and so on and so forth. But I also would like to stress that Russian armed forces they are working without haste just to ensure the safety of the civilians there. We are not. What is important, we do not practice, for example, so-called carpet shellings United States, yes, practice in Vietnam, in Afghanistan, and so yes, in other countries.
The narrative that is being
presented on the web, in the international media.
Yes. You have a problem because it's the West narrative that is being
because and even here in the Philippines we see a lot of reprinted articles from Asian France press, Associated Press, and so on and so forth, which are.
But our paper, the Business Mirror, has been presenting both sides.
Both sides, yes, and that's we really appreciate. Thank you so much.
And I am privileged to have presented part of that narrative.
Okay. Anyway, mga kaibigan, mag-break muna po tayo at babalikan po natin ang ating mga tinatalakay dito sa In the Heart of Business. If you have questions o gusto nyo pong mag-comment din, pwede po sa ating FB page DWIZ 882. Tayo po ay live na napapanood sa IZTV Channel 23. Hanapin po sa inyong Digiboxes. At gayon din, pwede rin po kayo makinig pa rin sa DWIZ 882 kHz AM sa nationwide po yan. And of course, dito nga po sa Facebook, DWIZ 882 and YouTube, DWIZ 882.
In the Heart of Business.
Ay, okay. Mali na pindot ko. At balik po tayo dito sa In the Heart of Business. Ako pa rin po si Maru Pahati Sarne with my partner.
Ako po si Lito Gangit. Narito pa rin po si
Miss Universe.
Hindi na para
the future Miss Universe.
The Russian. May tanong ka, partner.
Si Nina Prakapovich. Ayan. She's just 29, mga kaibigan. So beautiful. Anyway, kasi syempre, gusto nating malaman talaga kung ano nangyayari dito sa war between Ukraine and Russia. No, gusto natin malinawan kung anong nangyayari dyan.
War. Sabi ni Vladimir Putin, it's a special military operation.
Yes, oo. At ipinaliwanag kanina ni Nina ang kasaysayan niyan, kung anong pinagmulan niyan. Oo, ngayon ay gusto ko lang malaman, Nina, ano ang makakapagpahinto dito sa gerang ito?
As our leaders, official representative, Minister of Foreign Affairs, and our President told a lot of times that we are open for negotiation and we would like to negotiate. But the problem is that the Kiev authorities now, they are not independent at all. They cannot make their own decisions. They do what Washington tell them to do. So, because even last March, it was the end of March, the beginning of April, there were an attempt to negotiate in Istanbul. And actually, even the Ukrainian side who were presented there, they even pushed with some proposals on how to cease the fire. And the Russian side was ready to work with these proposals, consider it as a basis for further negotiations. But just the next day, the Western countries forbade Ukraine to continue this process. Instead of that, they started to pumping the country with more and more weapons, heavy weapons, and encouraging them to fight, as I already said, to the last Ukrainian. So it's actually it all depends to them. But at the same time, recently, there were again negotiations in Istanbul regarding the grain. Export of grain, and we managed to achieve some agreements on exports. And a couple of days ago, if I'm not mistaken, first vessel from Odessa port just left the Odessa port. So the Ukrainian side promised to provide safety
passage,
yes, navigation there.
Oh, okay.
Yes, so it's just an example of how we can cooperate, and that if it's we are speaking about some very important issues that concerns everybody, so we can achieve agreements.
So you think if it's just Russia and Ukraine speaking or negotiating, kung walang pakialam, kung walang nakikialam?
No, of course, Western influences very much on Ukrainian, and it's just one example. They themselves admits that they have consultations with Washington, because recently, maybe on July 31, there was an attack on a detention center in Donbass, Yelenovka.
Yeah, it was
yes,
bomb,
where Ukrainian prisoners of war were killed by the strike with American US-made HIMARS missiles, and they did it just to shut mouth those people, because people there it's members of Azov battalion that of course Russian can't say that they have some warm feelings towards them, because they are killing people. They are racist, nationalists, and so on and so forth. But they were kept hostage in this detention center for several months, and they started to give testimonies of the crimes they committed. They started to share information from what countries the weapons is going on, where it's deployed. So very detailed information, as you know. And of course, the Kiev regime obviously didn't like it, and they decided just to eliminate them. And just a couple of days ago, there was an interview of Ukrainian official, General, I forgot his name, Sibaritsky or something like this. Sigbitsky, I don't remember. Yeah. So there was an interview of him, and he admitted that before each rocket launch, there are consultations between Ukrainian intelligence and American intelligence.
Okay.
So they could coordinate the targets. Yes, where to strike.
Okay. Can we continue this because you just have a flash report.
Taiwan.
Ang Taiwan airspace closure ipinatupad simula ngayong araw na ito. May ulat po ating Patrol 45, Raul Esperas.
DWIZ Flash Report.
Napatupad na ng Taiwan Aviation Authorities ang airspace closure simula ngayong araw na ito, August 4 hanggang August 7. At ito ay may kaugnayan sa aktibidad sa pagitan ng China at ng Taiwan. Napagalaman na ang lahat ng mga commercial flight na manggagaling sa iba't ibang bahagi ng mundo ay pinagbabawalan na dumaan sa airspace sa pagitan ng Taiwan at ng China dahil nga sa patuloy na girian ng dalawang nabanggit na bansa. Gayunpaman, patuloy na minomonitor ng mga Philippine Carrier Airlines ang aktibidad sa Taiwan-China border upang makaiwas sa tiyak na kaligtasan. Tiniyak naman ng pamunuan ng Philippine Airlines sa pamamagitan ni Cielo Villaluna na ang kanilang biyahe na Philippine Airlines Flight PR890 at 892 na magtutungo at manggagaling sa Taiwan ngayong araw na ito ay tuloy sa kabila ng airspace closure sa Taiwan. Kaya pa man, sinabi ni Cielo Villaluna na patuloy nilang imamonitor ang kaganapan at sa mga darating na araw ay magbibigay sila ng announcement kaugnay sa sabing Taiwan airspace closure. Raul Esperas, Patrol 45, Nagul sa Impilomay Todo Lucas, DWIZ.
DWIZ Flash Report.
Okay, maraming salamat Raul Esperas. At ngayon po ay balikan natin si Miss Nina Prakapovich at pinapaliwanag niya sa atin itong mga nangyayari nga po ngayon sa Ukraine and itong military operations, special military operations po ng Russia. At sinasabi mo kanina na it was Ukraine which bombed the Donbass region recently.
The detention center in
the detention
Yelenovka,
center.
yes, with US-made rockets, missiles, because people they surrendered to the Russian armed forces because our army is well known for its human treatment, and so those people, members of Azov Battalion, they just realized the futility of fulfilling criminal orders from Kiev. And they surrendered. That's why they were not killed by Russian. They are humanly treated there. But of course, there will be investigation on all the crimes they committed. So that's our policy. So we want to have every case, every crime to be investigated. And actually, we also invited the representatives of International Red Cross just to take part in this investigation. So we hope that maybe they will listen to us and maybe will join.
What you are saying is that the Ukrainian prisoners there were willing to talk on the war itself. Yung mga Russian, yung Ukraine prisoners, kaya
Yes, they started to share secret information, sharing details that obviously the Kiev do not want to share with Russia. So. And that's why, yes, there were some Ukrainian officials just recently admitted that they have they coordinate all the strikes, military strikes, with the United States, just to avoid and maybe to strike the targets that they don't want to.
Sa bagay, alam mo, partner, yung mga sinusupply na weapons sa kanila, mga ano yun mga high precision instruments. For you to be able to use that, you need at least 6 months training, di ba? Kaya yun ang nangyayari. So, siguro, nagtatanong mo na, pero by that time, magtanong ka, yung target mo na wala na.
Yes. As you saying very correctly this, yes, for example, the Russian side is using high precision weapons. And it strikes only at military infrastructure. That's also our policy. And it never used civilians as human shields, unlike
Yes. Yung sinasabi niya, maganda yung sabi niya, yung carpet bagging. Hindi naman siya katulad nung sa Vietnam War, carpet bagging yung buong villages. So, bali, ang tinatarget lang ng Russian military are the military installations. So, I remember, partner, 3 days ago, there is Russia hit Mariupol. Ang sabi the next day, ang sabi ng West, tinamaan yung grain storage. Yun pala, wala naman palang port doon, ang tinamaan talaga military. The grain is malayo. Actually, nagkaroon nga ng shipment.
Talagang battle of
sa Lebanon,
media information. Information on media.
You are losing the info war.
Yes, info war, unfortunately, yes, we are not so successful in it, but still we hope that we could overcome it with your help also. Okay. So, indeed, yes, and we see a lot of fake news that Russians bombing kindergartens, hospitals, and so on and so forth. Hindi. Yes, but the problem is that, for example, the Ukrainian side and the Ukrainian armed forces, they deploy their tanks, their artillery in residential areas, and of course they provoke strikes from the Russian side. But it's often thanks God that sometimes they evacuate people from those residential areas. So they evacuate people from, like it happened with a maternity hospital in Mariupol. They evacuated people from their patients from there. There were no people. And Russia indeed struck this maternity hospital. But it
walang pasyente doon.
Walang doon pasyente. Pero meron doon maraming militar, Ukrainian military.
Doon sila nag-station.
Yes. So that's how. And then
magaling.
Yes, then they can tell you that yes, Russian is bombing social objects with people. So that's how fake news are being produced. It's just recently Lito maybe already remember this joke. when we discussed last week.
Maganda yung joke.
Yes, so there is a joke. It was told by our Minister of Foreign Affairs. So the situation is happening in Estonia, that is one of the Baltic states, and so there are a woman. There is a woman with a small child. They are in the zoo, and in the zoo there is a swimming pool where a crocodile lives. And so a woman with her child, they just were watching those crocodiles, and suddenly this small child just fell into the pool.
Yeah.
And nearby there was a guy drinking a beer. And when he saw this situation, he just jumped into the pool and saved the
child.
Yes, this child. And the woman started to thank him, saying, "Thank you, you are so brave Estonian guy." And the guy just replied, "I'm sorry, I'm not Estonian, I'm Russian." And just the next day, all the newspapers were headlines that drunken Russian guy deprived the crocodile from his lunch. So that's what we have. So unfortunately.
See, that's just how they are portrayed. Estonia, okay. Nung Russia, sabi.
Biglang naging evil.
Imperial, evil empire.
And you twist the truth kasi nga in favor of not in favor of the basta Russia, not in favor of them. Okay, pero how are you affected with this war economically dun sa Russia? Because maraming sanctions, diba?
Yes, but still our country just proved that it has stable economy. So because we started, actually we have our own industry, and we have been developing it for the last 8 years. So we have friends all over the world, despite the attempts of the West to isolate Russia, but Russia can't be isolated. So we have friends in Asia, India.
I heard India, China.
Of course, China, India.
China is buying coal at discounted price.
So tuloy ang negosyo.
Yes, BRICS countries, and we also have this. Our president suggested the idea of the so-called Great Eurasian Partnership. So we really would like to cooperate with all the countries on the equal footing, equal basis, and we just inviting regional organizations such as BRICS. Shanghai Cooperation Organization. What else?
Brazil,
ASEAN,
South
of course.
Africa,
to just also to join us, and we believe that there is a space for everybody, for each country, and we need to go to this multilateral world, because it's very interesting thing. Also, I just would like to say a couple of words on so-called international rules-based order, which our Western partners tries to promote. So they are accusing Russia undermining this rules-based order. But every time when I hear things like this, we all want to ask, and what rules you mean? Those rules were never presented to anyone, or they've been just created in a narrow circle of Western countries, and then they presented as the ultimate truth. So in these attempts, we see attempts to revive this unipolar world, and just to contain competitors. First of all, it's Russia. Next, it's China, obviously. So there is a move. There is a move
within the BRICS to come up with a reserve currency.
Yes.
And China, I think Egypt is also joining. I don't know if Indonesia is also in. Pero BRICS countries, Brazil, South Africa, India, China. Laki na nun. China
so magkakaroon sila ng sariling currency.
Yes.
Uniform currency, just like the euro.
A competitor to the dollar. How is that now? What is the status of that reserve currency now? How is it going on? Will it crop up a year from now, 6 months from now, 3 months from now?
So of course nobody knows.
Okay.
Yes. But indeed, with our closest partners, for example, with countries of Central Asia, which are part of this Eurasian Economic Union. Belarus, we are already 70% of transactions are made in being made in national currencies.
Wow.
So we are. Slowly but steadily, we are moving to this direction.
So how about cyber currency like the bitcoins? Is this widely used in Russia?
No, I would not say that it's widely used. Yes, but still we are monitoring. So it's monitoring. Yes, it's if it has future.
I know,
yes.
volatile.
So how about the tourists? Can tourists still go to Russia right now?
Yes, recently or the restrictions were lifted in Russia. So of course now you can receive visas. You can even try to receive electronic visas. So there is such an option in Russia, but of course you just need to present your PCR test. Yes, made before 48 hours. So it's like yes, 48 hours, and so yes, you can go to Russia.
And can they use their dollars to spend in Russia?
Of course, you can use dollars there. Yes, so
much better.
Yes. Just exchange rate may be a little different. It's different, but of course, because
how much?
It's it's like the Philippine peso.
So 50 ren, 50
but maybe a little bit more, maybe around 60 rubles.
Oh, wow.
60 rubles per dollar, yes.
Punta tayo Russia.
Yes.
So cheap, huh? So almost same, huh?
Yes, so the Russian ruble is quite stable. So
how are the commodities price? I mean,
of course,
let's say yung damit o yung
of course, there is some increase in prices for.
Pero mura lang,
yes.
Let's say if you buy a slacks, gaano ba yun?
Dito sa Philippines?
Okay, pagkain sa restaurant. If you come to a restaurant, how much would you usually spend? And if you are a tourist, how much daily can you spend?
So I don't know, because I haven't been in Russia since the started.
Okay.
Yes.
No, but when you were there.
Yes, but no, when I was there, the prices were as usual. So I didn't notice some drastic changes. Yes, so because food products is traditionally.
Like a dollar can give you what? Can buy what?
Let's say if you are a tourist in Russia, what is the average that you can spend in a day?
Like
for hotel and everything.
Hotels are expensive, but it depends on what kind of hotel. I think it will be maybe 3,000, 4,000 per night, but it depends.
That's pesos yan.
Rubles.
Yes. So,
rubles so mga
but of course, you can find cheaper options and more
then yung
expensive. Pakain, so it's enough. Maybe I think with 1,000 rubles, it's okay to live within a day.
1,000.
Yes.
So $20.
Yes, I don't know what the situation is now, but yes. Restaurants, cafes.
Someone's asking si JM Komanahan, do you like the films of Andrei Tarkovsky?
Tarkovsky, of course.
I think he's the greatest Russian director ever.
Yes. He's famous for his first movies that were made in the 20s, 30s, if I'm not mistaken. So Alexander Nevsky, about so of course we know them. We were watching them in schools because it's part of our history. Yes, and he also made movies based on some historical scenarios. So yes.
RG Chell is saying, wow, ang galing at maganda si ma'am.
RG Chell is now in China.
Federico Poncelan is also watching us from Bulacan. Ansel Asto Baldomar, JM Komanahan, do you like chess daw?
Yes, of course, we are playing chess. Yes. We have in our embassy people who has a kind of masters. They are masters in chess playing. So
Karpov,
yes, that visited Baguio once here. So
ako kilala ko si Tigran Petrosian.
Erdine Tagaliza nanonood din, at saka si Ecolinjo Moslares, and also Nina Garcia. Thank you. Maraming salamat po. And we don't have much time. So Meron ka bang gustong ibahagi sa ating mga kababayan dito sa Pilipinas before we go, Nina? Your parting message.
Okay, I just would like again to thank the host of this program for accepting me here, for seeing me here, and for letting an opportunity to speak on important issues. And I just would like to call on the Philippine people just to be more, more curious about what is really happening globally. Just try to analyze the situation, try to hear both sides, and just to make your own decisions, because of course nobody can impose his own vision on the people. So, but it's depends on ourselves how we what we want to hear. So if we want to hear one-sided information, or we want to know what is really happening, yes, and so we are reading everything and what they tell you and what the other side is telling you. So and I think that the truth will prevail one day.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
The truth will come out.
Yes,
okay. Maraming salamat din kay Sir Edgar Cabangon sa pagpapakilala sa atin kay Miss Nina Prakapovich, and also maraming salamat sa inyong lahat na tumutok po sa atin. Kasama natin ngayon si Juna Guba, si Jeric Barreto, nakita ko rin kanina. Sino pa yung mga nandyan? Judith Estrada Larino, our news director, si Rashid, si Ariam, si Jam, si Jai, at saka si Joanne. Thank you so much sa inyong lahat. Ako po si Maru Pahati Sarner with my partner.
Maraming salamat po sa inyong pakikinig.
Thank you.
Miss Nina Prakapovich.
Prakapovich.
And of course, ako po ay babalik mamaya sa Radyo Klinika alas 7 hanggang alas 8 po ng gabi. Bye! Susunod na po si Miss Loli Acosta sa Sulong na Bayan.
In the Heart of Business, isang oras na talakayang pangnegosyo ang nakasama nyo sa pananghalian. Mapapakinggan Martes, Huwebes at Biyernes dito lang sa DWIZ 882 In the Heart of